Hello everyone. I've been slightly absent on here as of recent because I was God, I love the crows. Because I've been finishing up my last book, The Rise of Gaia. My goal in this book was to transmit, these teachings of the new formula of our eon and of high magic, in a way that I believe that, even a child could understand. I feel that this is important as we move forward, that we continue to find ways to, simplify and to concentrate all these teachings in such a way that we can absorb them much faster. And that way we can move into the creation of our own formulas and our own way of being as, Gaia Ladra and the exalted form of the earth continues to rise. Today I just wanted to talk to you about the importance of Magick Instruction, for one. When I began my path, it was largely due to the fact that, I had some spiritual realizations and, insights of my own, but it wasn't until I found myself within a mystery school that these things really began to, crystallize and then come into my life in a way that I was able to utilize and use these magic principles in a much more potent way. Much of my path has had to do with, finding my own way to navigate through these truths and finding, seeking out instruction of my own, which, essentially led me to travel, across the world and study with all sorts of schools and all sorts of teachers. But I always felt like there was something lacking in everywhere that I went and everything that I found. I studied with Buddhist monks all through Asia, through Thailand and through India and Nepal, and had many conversations with all sorts of different people and all sorts of different paths. But it wasn't for a long time that I realized that these schools were still based upon the old formula, and that way, and because of this, they didn't really transmit the methods and the teachings in a way that actually work right now in our time. I began taking on students about a year ago. I had this feeling that it was time for me to step into my role as a teacher and to begin to, offer to everybody else, the wisdom and the teachings that I'd acquired. I spent much of my life, just listening, not extending or transmitting any knowledge or opinions or, information in my own regard, just because I wanted to take in everything that was out there. But there came a point where I felt that it's like I felt compelled by my soul that this was what was needed, and that I needed to develop a system in which people could progress much faster than what I'd previously done. See, the problems that I encountered is that as you progress upon the spiritual and magical paths, you enter into these different states of consciousness. Now, these states of consciousness are represented on the tree of life, as the Sephiroth and the different houses. And, Crowley gives us one of the keys to this in Koksan Pax, where he talks about how most people that come into these palaces stay forever and they never leave. They don't go on to the next, progression. Because from the perspective that you currently are in, it can be very difficult to see that there's still a higher perspective that exists. My study into the nature of paradox, right, the apparent contradiction between like universal or scientific truths or religious truths, is really what led me to this new system. It's, the system of an archidox. And this is like a very important word. It's actually a dead word in our language at this point. It used to be commonplace, in which an archidox was that which accompanied the paradox. Therefore, when you meet up against those limitations and those seeming contradictions on the path, it means that there has to be a higher truth that is being, held within this sort of umbrella of an archidox. Like the archidox has to contain all the paradoxes associated to it, because the fact that, we live in a reality, and if something exists here, it exists. And so there has to be an explanation for it. This is kind of the same idea that's taking place in the scientific community with the idea of consilience. That all the different sciences and different, paths and methods have to reach a point where they combine back into one way of view. So the benefit that I've noticed with my students is that as they move into these different states of consciousness and these different states of progression along the path, instead of getting stuck in a specific place, remaining in this palace for the rest of their life, they're able to have the perspective of someone who's already been through that experience and knows, the next way. There's always a path that leads to that next state of consciousness, and a lot of times it's concealed by our limiting beliefs or our thought patterns. And so having that finger pointing at the moon, having that guidance allows you to immediately focus upon what's next. This is the entire purpose of the Temple of the Archinox in the first place, is I'm designing a temple and a land that inevitably brings each person, to the next higher state of consciousness, and then immediately upon that realization points to what's next. It's like no one can walk the path for you ever. You always have to be the one who goes through the door, and always have to be the one who has the realizations and makes those steps and implements them in your life. However, with Magick Instruction, you're able to have that, constant support, one, that allows you to crystallize and anchor within, your realizations and the new powers that you discover and the new abilities, and then upon anchoring them, implement them immediately on your path towards a higher evolutionary realization. It's not that it's necessary, it's that it's a very useful tool. And so I'd like to encourage anyone who really feels it, to just go into these ideas of sovereignty and these ideas of, finding your own way, because it's true, you will always be the authority of your experience. You possess a unique point of view and a unique way of expression that is intimately tied into why you are here. But it's also in the interaction with other orbits and other beings that will help to realize where you can go next and how you can move beyond even, your highest dream or your highest vision. I don't know how many times in my own life where, the highest vision that I had for myself was something very less than, where it is now. I just didn't see where things could expand. I didn't see how you could expand, because the path of magic will constantly take you to the edge of experience, into that unknown, into that creative space. And it's in that creative space where your unique expression begins to bring something new to the expression of the all. That's why you're here. You're not to do what others have done, but you're to do exactly what you're here to do. And that is like my whole goal with the OIO, or O exclamation O Academy of Magic Arts and Sciences, which we nicknamed the silent exclamation, is that you realize your perfect expression and your perfect will, and we empower you towards that directly. And you'd be surprised how fast the false structures of your old belief systems and your old way of living will fall away, and how fast you're able to move into that next incarnation, that next expression. And as the serpent continually sheds these old skins and moves into a new mode of expression and a new way of seeing, new possibilities are constantly awakening. And so, in working with me specifically, my whole goal will be to guide you to go beyond anything you thought was possible, and to guide you and encourage you to do it now, to not wait. Because you can go as fast as you want to go. You can move in galaxies if you like. It doesn't have to be a slow, drawn-out process. In fact, things change as fast as you're willing to change yourself. And so the faster you are able to transform, to let go of your old self and just step into the new, the faster everything around you can just completely flip. So anyway, I just wanted to, touch base with everybody and kind of let everyone know what's going on and where things are going. As my goal is, to keep offering this private instruction and answering questions, and offering this magic advice, but also to grow this school into, a thriving live school, in order that we can all progress and evolve as fast as possible, especially as our Earth is now progressing and evolving at a much increased rate. And we're going to see the necessity of this growth and the necessity to step into our magic powers as to thrive in this ever-changing world. The laws of the universe now require this. So anyway, I just wanted to say hello again, let you know what I'm up to, and wish you the best day, and encourage you to really consider, if this instruction could be a great value to you. And if it is, I promise you, if it's your will, there's a way for you to make it happen. All right, well, enjoy this beautiful day, bright and sunny and warm.